Saudi Arabia and Israel just shocked the whole world. But if you're a Christian that studies Bible prophecy, this should come as no surprise. Okay, let's do this. Let's play this video because this has some information to bear for us. And I think it's going to open up the door for a lot of discussion. So let's do that.
Continuing to follow that breaking news right now on what could be a historic step towards peace in the Middle East. We brought you this earlier in the show, but now we're getting some new information.
The U.S. and Saudi Arabia have agreed on a tentative deal for Saudi Arabia to officially recognize Israel. Newsmax correspondent Daniel Cohen live in Tel Aviv with details. Daniel.
Yeah, good morning, Sean. Good morning, Emma. Historic, enormous, huge. Right. And all of those words are apropos to describe what we're talking about here. Let me just set the table for you in case you're just catching up. OK, the U.S. and Saudi Arabia have agreed on the broad contours of a deal for Saudi Arabia to recognize Israel in exchange for concession to the Palestinians. Also, Saudi Arabia wants U.S. security guarantees. And I think this is the bigger thing for them, help with their civilian nuclear program. Now, that is according to U.S. officials who were quoted off the record. And as you said, and you set this up the right way, a lot of this is not a done deal yet. In fact, the White House, we're hearing off the record expressing cautious optimism that something can be done in the next 9 to 12 months. But they have gone from hammering out larger details to some of the finer details. Listen, I've heard people here in Israel, people I respect and admire, that know Middle East foreign policy way more than I do, call it the mother of all Middle East peace deals. The Saudi Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman, a man in his late 30s, the de facto ruler of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. He's been meeting in Jeddah for the last few weeks, in fact, months, with Jake Sullivan, President Biden's national security advisor.
So,
mother of all peace deals.
Yeah, let me just get your initial thoughts on this, bro. I have some ideas on this. Let me get your initial thoughts on this first.
Well, I mean, when he says mother of all peace deals, that just starts to make you really, really stand up and pay attention. There's so many different dynamics going into play, but I believe Saudi is going to be key to all of this Middle East peace and the Third Temple standing up, because when that guy speaks, people listen, right? He's like E.F. Hutton, right? But yeah, when E.F. Hutton speaks, people listen, right? But he's the E.F. Hutton of Middle East, and he is, he tells people, hey, we're going to focus on Mecca, the temple in the Gold Dome in Israel that's not important to us. And, he's starting to already change that dynamic where people are starting to kind of go, well, you know what, maybe we give. And we've seen actually that in news articles where they're starting to say, we're going to divide that whole top piece up. We're going to let the mosque over on the one side stand, and then the Gold Dome piece, we'll give that to the Jews. And it's, I think, stair-stepping in that direction, but I think something is going to break here very quickly, and there's going to be a peace deal that's going to be brokered, and everybody's going to probably be in shock that it actually took place and that it was actually enough to, break all of this loose. It's nuts.
Dude, and the funny thing is even with Jordan losing their mind with respect to what's happening with the Waqf and what Saudi Arabia is saying, it's absolutely true. But there's one part of this, man, that is like it just caught me right away. And the statement was this. The statement was, the United States is demanding a concession for Palestine or for the Palestinians. And this is the thing that been sort of, okay, look, MBS, I'm just going to say this. When I talk about MBS, that is the affectionate term that I use for Mohammed bin Salman, okay? The person who is really, in essence, the front face of the Saudi royal family.
Yeah.
He has made it clear, I'm not giving a dang thing to them. He's made it very, very clear. He said what everybody calls the Palestinian population, and he doesn't put it that way, but he basically says what the Palestinians, or what America is seeking for the Palestinians, is not going to be fruitful to any of Israel's allies or anybody in the region, because in essence, he understands the game for what it is. Here's the thing that a lot of people do, and it makes me cringe. They refer to Israel as Palestine. And it's like, do you understand that every single time you refer to Israel as Palestine, you are actually making a radically anti-Semitic statement? Like, people don't say that. And did you also know that you are, whether or not you realize it, you are minimizing the Arab population that exists in that area because you are referring to them as the derogatory term that was used by a Roman emperor against Jews. So you're giving an Arab community a Jewish title and you're robbing them of whatever identity they did have as Arabs in order to accomplish some kind of a political purpose in creating some sort of statement about an issue that happens to be very complex, but yet in nature, it isn't all as complex as a lot of people think. Saudi Arabia isn't for a second going to give any concession to the Palestinian Authority. Why? Because Saudi Arabia understands that the nature of the beast that governs and regulates the Palestinian Authority wants to destroy anything and everything that involves a Jewish interest, which in essence destroys anything and everything that would involve a Saudi Arabian interest or a Emirates interest or a Libyan interest or any other interest that would seem to have any kind of sympathetic cause or ideal towards Israel. I don't think people recognize the significance of that, bro.
We just have to watch because everything is happening so quickly, and it's the littlest changes that we're not seeing. I will tell you, the U.S. media does not cover any of this stuff. All they do is cover their data points that they want us to basically take away, right? And that is, whatever they're pushing, the flavor of the day, so to speak, to keep our minds focused on other parts of the world. If our media covered the things that are being covered in the rest of the world, most of the United States or most Americans would probably start to recognize that we have our hands in a lot of different pies right now, right? They just will not have any of this in our news. And so you're right. These are big, big pieces that are being put into play that I think are going to end up leading to that peace deal, leading to Ezekiel 38, leading to that tribulation period that's coming. This is what a time to be alive.
The crazy thing about this is, like, and we talked about this, right? Like, nobody saw this coming, right? And I get that. But the Lord gave us some very clear understanding and discernment regarding these matters. Yeah. And the thing that just like blows my mind is, why in the world are we not seeing this? Let me play the rest of this clip for you, because it will, again, it goes to communicate the same point that I've been making and the point that you've been making, that nobody saw it coming, but God said that it would happen, right? Like, God predicted it in the first place. But let me play this for you. This is just mind-numbing, right? Take a look at this.
For the last few weeks, in fact, months, with Jake Sullivan, President Biden's national security advisor, trying to get these talks moving. So now we're hearing they're talking specifics. So the significant concession from Israel would be help promoting the creation of a Palestinian state. That's what they're saying. I have to tell you, I am not hearing that at all here in Israel. In return, the United States would be pressing Saudi Arabia to impose limits on its growing relationship with China. Now, Prime Minister...
Okay, I'm going to repeat what he just said there. Because I want everybody to understand the significance of that, right? First of all, we all know hogwash, okay? There is no way anybody in the Likud is going to ever concede to a Palestinian state, right? Because if they do that, then they're already moving in the direction of the elimination of the Jewish state. That's not going to happen, right? But did you hear what he just said about China?
Here's one thing, and it is glaringly obvious to me too about all of this. Listen, as much as Israel embraced Trump and the Abraham Accord and his peace plan that he was pushing out, although he may have been the guy that actually greased the skids for all of this to happen, because he was here with a purpose, right? Yeah. I will say this: until you have a Muslim that is pushing the peace agenda, you'll never have the peace agenda, because 100%. The peace has to come between the Muslim and the Israelis.
100%.
Or I say Israelis and the Jews, right? It has to be between those, because that's the strife. That's the strife that exists today that prevents that peace deal from coming into play.
This has Ezekiel 38 written all over it. It just does. Listen to the rest of this, right? Okay. And we'll connect a few more dots. This is crazy.
I have to tell you, I am not hearing that at all here in Israel. In return, the United States would be pressing Saudi Arabia to impose limits on its growing relationship with China. Now, Prime Minister Netanyahu, I've been checking his Twitter. I've been checking anything. He hasn't said anything publicly yet. But since I've been here in Israel and recovering this for you here in Newsmax.
Anybody think that Israel and China are going to become best buddies anytime soon?
No.
Yeah, you're out of your dang mind if you think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm not buying that at all. In fact, you never even hear China when it comes to Israel. That's like, you know,
Russia wouldn't even think in a second of proxying China. Russia is making a move to create an economy that renders China inconsequential. People might not see that active aspect of the geopolitics of that particular area of the region. But just take a moment to spend some time looking at how Russia is manipulating the relationship between North Korea and China, and begin to look at the agreements that are being made for energy exchange between them, and tell me that ain't so. That's just all I got to say. There's a lot there. There's a lot of reading there. But anyway, let's just listen to the rest of this.
He has said publicly there is no way that he will give up an inch of sovereign Israeli soil to create a Palestinian state. He has said he's willing to make moderate or light concessions. What does that mean? I don't know, but that's antithetical to the ultra-Orthodox that serve in the Knesset right now, ministers to Bibi's right, who say openly that they don't want to create a Palestinian state. They want to take land back from the Palestinians, including the Temple Mount. So this is very big news. We're still.
Did you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Including the Temple Mount.
Yes.
Monkey, how long have we been talking about this?
Oh yeah, no, for a while. This is
Did you hear? You didn't hear this clip beforehand, right?
No.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't know.
Did you guys hear Monkey 20 minutes ago?
I believe Saudi is going to be key to all of this Middle East peace and the Third Temple standing up.
Okay, listen to the rest of this.
Waiting to see specific details. But if there's a deal in principle between the United States brokering, obviously this is huge, and on the heels of the Abraham Accords, probably the highest accomplishment of President Trump, because it brought peace between Israel, Bahrain, the UAE, Morocco, and Sudan. Some people said if President Trump would have won a second term, or if he was still president, that this Saudi deal would have already been done. That's neither here nor there. But President Biden clearly riding some of the momentum, some of the I guess greasing the skids, maybe a better term, but of the Abraham Accords and all the success that we've seen in trade and business there, economic partnership. But a deal with Saudi Arabia, recognizing Israel and bringing some sort of peace here, is enormous. Sean, Emma, back to you.
Isn't that amazing? Do you understand that the big issue here has nothing to do, and this is like critical that we point this out, it has nothing to do with anything related to any Palestinian efforts or cause. It has everything to do with Saudi Arabia for the first time recognizing a Jewish state. They've never done it. Not officially.
No, certainly not, because they're Muslim. You know, that's the thing that's nuts, man, is remember when Trump recognized Israel, the capital of Israel, recognized Jerusalem? And that was like this really big deal. And then now you got this. This is incredible. What a time to be alive. But that I will tell you, we could actually see them starting to like clear that area and start to make lay the groundwork for the Third Temple here in no time.
Bro, they're already at the plaza. They're building a full-blown train station. They're building a tunneled transportation system so that people can in mass amounts come and worship on the Temple Mount.
Is that brown box that was down at the bottom we were talking about months ago, that we're like, what are they doing right there? Like,
that's exactly what's happening. And by the way, this is even something even more important. They are actually, Israel already announced it, they're going to call it the Donald Trump train station. They're actually dedicating it to his name.
That's nuts, man.
Because of the concessions that he created in the allowance of that to take place.
So is this
people don't know how involved he had to be with Jordan, bro, to make that happen.
Yeah, so it's going to be one of those deals that comes up out of the ground, right? Where people come up out of the ground and go up. Is that right?
I'm almost certain that's exactly what that's going to look like. They have several of those, by the way, already in that area. Yeah. In East Jerusalem, you can see them all over. There's a few of those. There's a really beautiful museum that's on the Temple Mount that has a system that's kind of like that. Look, here's the thing. I think this is the summary of everything we've been talking about, because I think this is really important, right? Guys, you got to study the Word of God. Please study the Bible, please. Like, honestly, make an extended effort to know what the Word of God says, so that as you start looking at the current events, you're going to be better able to connect the dots.
Yeah, 100%.
And I say this to everybody. I think the best political analysts And the best geopolitical analysts alive should be pastors,
Yeah.
but they're not because they don't study the word.
Yeah.
And that's a very sad thing.
Dude, you
It
just
really
nailed
is.
That's so true. It really is. It is a, if you understand the Bible in the context, especially when it comes to end time prophecy, you can, and you watch the things going on in the world, you can recognize, one, just how far along we are. And two, you can see the moves being made before they happen, because you're expecting it. You kind of go, oh, you know what? The next thing, this is coming, because they're major milestones, like the third temple, like the peace deal, like Ezekiel 38, like our exit. I mean, there's all of these different things that if you're in tune with that word, you can start to go, hey, this is sounding very familiar now,
It is so true. I got nothing to add to that. Honestly, I just think that what Monkey said is it's just profoundly true. And I think there's an amen for all of us in this.